Okay, let's go to the final question then. So Taiwan's opposition-controlled parliament, the Legislative Yuan, signed 4 sales, even though spending plans have not yet been approved by lawmakers. And this was to ensure the contract deadline of March 13th wasn't missed. The sales are of TOW anti-tank missiles, Javelin missiles, self-propelled howitzers, and HIMARS multiple launch rocket systems after months of delay. The sales are both part of Taiwan President Lai Ching-te's $40 billion special defense budget, as well as the $11 billion record U.S. arms package approved by the U.S. in December. So, Kitch, let me ask you, in particular, why are these weapons important for Taiwan's defense?
So I'll put it this way, right? Like, none of these weapons are actually are designed to basically handle the problem alone. All of this is part of an integrated plan that that's been in the case in the pipeline for years. What we got for TOW Javelin is obviously this is the 6th phase of the defense, right? The lowest level, basically this is for attrition. This is to basically deter China, its cost and position to basically tell China even with air superiority, you still need to pay certain costs, right? But the problem with this is, at the same time, it's control issues, right? How do you prevent yourself from hitting your guys? Especially when you lost, in this case, we could assume the network would not be as redundant, as connected as we before. So your rudimentary control measures will be very important, right? And for the A7, for the 109 A7s, so the artilleries,
This is the
howitzers.
The howitzers. Okay.
Yeah. So it goes to basically what's the role of artillery in the Battle of Taiwan, right? We talked about HIMARS, we talked about artillery as cross-theater support. But that role was originally provided by attack helicopters. So a lot of transition is in place, right? A lot of these legacy systems are being transitioned into new concepts. And those concepts are yet to be tested and experimented. But it's really hard for you to do that without the things actually in your possession. So it's actually imperative that those arrive in a timely manner.
Okay. And Holmes, these weapons, do they not allow Taiwan to shift into that more asymmetric warfare? These are mobile systems, distributed and survivable.
So howitzer or artillery, they are the Army's weapon, right? Army's weapon to fight a non-army. But Taiwan's army is not fighting PLA's army per se, right? Taiwan needs to defend the island, therefore need to beat back the PLA's amphibious forces. And artillery is not the right weapon, I would say. Anti-ship cruise missiles would be, right? And also HIMARS equipped with ATACMS or in the future PRISM.
This is the offensive capability that you're saying needs to complete Taiwan's defense.
Right, and not only that, to be able to neutralize Chinese invading forces, Taiwan needs to have the space segment, and this is where Israel and the U.S. can help. Right? The United States has many commercial space companies that can offer signal intelligence, imaging intelligence, and that kind of stuff to Taiwan. And Taiwan really needs to incorporate those technologies.
And you says this is specifically to locate the command and control.
And to know where the PLA's gray zone and the invading forces are, so that we can tip and cue and guide the missiles to neutralize the invading forces. Yeah.
Right.
So to Jimen's point earlier, and to Kitch's as well, system integration is really the key, right? The U.S. If the U.S. comes to Taiwan's aid to intervene in the military contingency, then both sides need to share a common operating picture, and this means all the sensors and shooters need to integrate together so that we can have a common set of attack package. So another point that I would like to make is Taiwan's threat envelope is very different from that of Israel and the U.S. And that means Taiwan needs to do its own homework. We cannot just simply, with the help of Israel and the U.S., that is very important. I don't deny that. But Taiwan needs to do its own homework. That is where system engineering needs to play a fundamental and significant role.
Okay. Jiman, so we spoke about the opposition. They controlled the legislative yuan. There had been delays for months, obstruction, but then there was the passing of those sales. So, does this give us hope that in the end they will come through? Or what are the cost? What's the cost of delays?
I think tactically the cost has been minimal. In other words, the sale is going through, okay? But it was a painful process for not only the Taiwanese government, but the people in Taiwan saw the painful process. And the U.S. government and the people in the U.S. also saw that there was some hesitancy about with the KMT and the TPP in terms of this budget plan. And it's important that they passed it. So that's the first part. Second part is it shows that that it took a lot of effort by the U.S. government to put pressure on the KMT and the TPP, and also it shows a weakness that is not good, not because China also sees it, and also the operational strain. The budget freezes forces the military to prioritize immediate maintenance over long-term modernization. So the long-term budget needs to be approved so that you can plan ahead. You don't plan year to year. You need to plan over a longer period, and that way you can do the integration that these two gentlemen have mentioned. And so the overall, it's important for the government of Taiwan, the people of Taiwan, to put pressure on the opposition to get through this deadlock and not nickel and dime this process to death.
Kitch?
So I think there's at least one thing good that's coming out of this, right? Part of the problem with Taiwan's defense policy in general is the lack of transparency. As Holmes and Jimin talked about, right? We're talking about the most effective way to counterforce, especially attack Chinese command and control. Center of gravity is the landing fleet, right? So, and I could do interjection, I could do all of that. And that also translates into how much you want to invest in a air defense system, missile defense system that's fundamentally asymmetrically wrong for the other side. It costs more to shoot down a missile than them to shoot a missile, right? But we hear none of this. At least this time, during the budget fight, we got the Department of Strategic Planning, General Huang, to came out and did an hour interview talking about the process of force planning of everything that leads up to this. Because I think this is the very important part that nobody actually cares, right? And this is what's behind the scenes. Because usually you have the administration. Yes, I can see all of this if I request the military to do so, the MMD. Sometimes they don't even provide it to the administration. But if you're not in power, like the KMT, then you're definitely not seeing it, right? So, and to have that out in the public and to have the public understand that's how defense are planned, it paves a really good precedent for us to discuss something that's way more important than the technical stuff, right? Everybody knows how weapons shoot, how missiles shoot, how defense layers goes. But what's the mix? What's the right way to basically for Taiwan to maximize, min-max, the resources it has, right? So that's the question here.
So, Holmes, final thoughts to you.
Right. General consensus is that KMT is working closely with the CCP. So they are doing CCP's bidding in Taiwan's Congress.
What sort of evidence do we have for that?
All right. So, for instance, the really useful items, such as ATACMS missiles, right? This KMT is blocking it, and So
these have ranges of hundreds of kilometers for the missiles?
More than that. It actually has 300 kilometers range that can strike deep into Fujian and Jiangxi and so on, right? And another example is VBAT, for instance. That is a drone, a very powerful drone made by a U.S. company called Shield AI. It's been blocked and it's waiting for KMT's green light. But I don't know. So far, we have seen very little movement on that end. But rather, it's so the first thing is that they approved, like you said, is the short-range weapons. That is, so a lot remains to be seen. But I would love to see KMT stand up and tell me that they are not doing CCP's bidding.